What's up guys, Coach Steve here and welcome to part 6 of this 7-part series on nutrition and our nutritional pyramid. As a summary, part 1 we talked about adherence being the most important factor in a diet. Next, part 2, which was energy balance. We need to be able to balance our energy intake, and we do that through a caloric model. If you are consuming too much energy than you need, you're going to put on weight, and then if you are expending more energy than you need, you're going to lose weight. It's as simple as that, guys. Next, we want to consider our protein intake to maintain body function, and then so that we can maintain our muscle mass as much as we can. Finally, we need to consider carbs and fats and what ratio or preferences you want, down to a preference. Finally, micronutrients, making sure that we have adequate fruits and vegetable intakes so that we can have enough vitamins and minerals in our day so we can function. We want to consider water intake, and then we want to consider our fiber intake. Next, we can start thinking about nutrient timing and then the frequency of that intake. We're going to start with frequency, mainly to debunk the old bodybuilding myth. And I think that myth came up where we need to be having or eating 6, 7, or 8 times a day because that stimulates our metabolism. And I'm doing this because it really isn't true. It isn't holding up within current research and literature. So meal frequency really comes down to your own preferences. As a general guide, we suggest anywhere between 3 to 6 meals per day. There are studies that show the extreme end of 14 meals per day, and then some studies showing the other extreme end of 1 meal a day or even no meals a day. And I think when we move outside of this 3 to 6 meals a day, then we start to get a problem of adherence, because if you're programming 14 meals a day, you probably won't be eating that many times a day unless you're just a full-time eater. And if you're eating just 1 meal a day, you may find that you're feeling hungry and then you're snacking. So this is our general guide, 3 to 6 meals a day. And if you're following the plan, we've got breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snacks. There's our 5 there, so that we can manipulate those variables a little bit more. Next, we're talking about timing. There isn't a lot to it, but mainly what we're talking about with timing is our workout timing and our peri-workout nutrition. So peri meaning around our workout, but we can break that down into pre and then post, okay? And essentially, pre-workout, we want to be having some sort of carbohydrate leading up to our bout of exercise or our bout of activity. And as a guide, we'll be having about 30 grams of carbohydrates leading up to our training session. So within an hour or two before your training session. Our carbohydrate can come from multiple different sources, and in the challenge we utilize a piece of fruit because fruit can be high in carbohydrate. It's also digested quite quickly, so if you're following the challenge, I'd suggest simply having a piece of fruit before you train so that we can have carbohydrate in our body. And essentially what we're doing is we're putting glucose in our bloodstream so that when we go to work out, we are ready to perform and function. Post-workout, there is this old saying of having the anabolic window, and that we want a protein and a carbohydrate source immediately after our training session. Essentially that window has been shown to be quite big and large from that 30-minute window that we once thought. So now I would suggest anywhere between immediately after the training session and 2 hours after the training session, we want to be having some sort of protein. Once again, about 30 grams or so of protein, so that's carbohydrate, that's protein, after you train, okay? And that is 1 to 2 hours post, and that'll be 1 or 2 hours pre. Now, I think this is a different conversation if we're having someone who is general population trying to lose weight versus someone who's a bodybuilder trying to step on stage. So with our meal timing, for the majority of us, we're having 3 meals a day with a few snacks in between. We're getting enough nutrition in between. So if you're, let's say, having breakfast at 6 a.m. and then lunch at midday, and you decide to train at 9 a.m., we're kind of hitting close to that 3-hour window. So a little bit outside of this optimal window, but you're most likely eating something. Problem lies is when we are training really early in the morning or really late at night, and that's when we can struggle to get this or to get this. Okay, so if you are deciding to train first thing in the morning in a fasted state, first of all, fasted states are not more beneficial than a fed state. But if you are choosing to have something like that, once again, you could probably have a piece of fruit before you train. That will be easily digested in your body, ready to go. and then afterwards you can have a protein shake. If you know that you train better in a fasted state, so not eating anything, I would suggest that you have something like a citrulline malate and an essential amino acid mix while you're training, so that you can have some aminos in your bloodstream while you're training. Once again, that's when we're talking about someone who is a bodybuilder about to step on stage. If you are just someone who is 20-30 kilos overweight, wanting to lose weight, probably not a thing you need to consider. Next, our protein shake or some sort of protein intake within or after our training session. We can actually have this before our training session as well. So if we think of our training window here, we've got our 2-hour window after. We can also have our protein shake prior. So if you find that you can only train at, let's say, 9 p.m. at night, you go home, you shower, you go to bed, then we can be having some sort of protein intake before you train. And that doesn't need to be a protein shake. That can simply be some sort of meal that is based in protein. What we want to kind of avoid is high amounts of fats before you train, because that can cause us to be lethargic and underperform. So I guess as a general cross, we want to try to be avoiding high amounts of fats before you train, because you may find that you feel lethargic or heavy and then unable to perform. So guys, once again, some people really put these timing and frequency up on a pedestal as the be all and end all, but they are quite high. And then these things can actually break down our energy balance and our adherence. So if you're worried that your meal timing or your frequency, unless you're stepping on stage, probably not something you need to worry about. We want to manage the effects so that we can manage these big ones here. Good luck.